Hello everyone and welcome to my new video. I wanted to do a video that really was just me talking about pretty much the first year of ownership of having a PlayStation 4 while playing The Last of Us. This is The Last of Us on the PS4. This is the redone version from the PlayStation 3. And it's absolutely fantastic. I have played it on the PS3 before, but this really took it to a new level with improved graphics, improved frame rate, and they added in the DLC as well. It was just a fantastic game, and I didn't actually own it for the PlayStation 3. I loaned it and played through it, but I kind of blew through it really quick because I'd borrowed it off somebody, and when I borrow things off people, I tend to not try and keep it for too long. I try to get through it as quickly as possible so I can give it them back, and I did that with this. So actually going out and buying it on the PS4, it was great because now I can actually take my time and go through the game and really appreciate what it has to offer. It's such a fantastic game. It's one of my favourite games. One of my favourite games of all time, possibly. I mean, a game similar to this, it's you're hard pushed. Well, personally speaking, I find it hard pushed to find something that's so well put together and so well crafted, and a story that was very compelling, and actually, had an ending that wouldn't have been the ending if I'd have had multiple choices. I probably wouldn't have chose the ending that the game had, but kind of because it was such a it's difficult to say it was such a downer, but the ending itself was perhaps somewhat unique in the sense that it kind of wasn't your typical action game type ending, but then this isn't your typical action game. There's elements of survival horror in the game. It's not a simple straight up third person shooter like you would expect. You have to think about what you're doing. You have to be a little bit more tactical. Running in an area all guns blazing is pretty much a guarantee way of getting yourself killed. So yeah, I mean, it's so well put together. It's so well crafted, and it was amazing to see this on the PlayStation 3, coming towards the end of its life cycle. It really did showcase how good the PS3 was as a games console, and seeing the improved version on the PS4. I mean, looking at this at the moment, especially at the moment because a lot of this is quite dark, but this recording that was done using the internal recording features on the PlayStation 4 do not do justice to how good this game looks whatsoever. I would encourage people to, if they want to see how good this is, look at better footage than what's captured here. I don't use a HD PVR to capture the footage off the PS4 because the HD PVR that I've got doesn't have the HDMI inputs on it. It just has component. It's an older one that was designed for usage with the PS3, Xbox 360, and other and standard definition formats, as well as those HD formats. But it doesn't have HDMI, so this is the only way I can capture footage from the PS4 at the moment. But it's pretty good. It does its job. It's functional. It's just that when graphics tend to be a bit dark like this, it can be quite difficult at times to try and shed light, shall we say, on the actual footage. But in any event, this is a game. It's well worth checking out. If you've got a PlayStation 4, it's well worth getting. And if you've got a PS3 and you haven't got this, again, it's well worth getting. It's a absolutely fantastic game, and it's a game where you actually care about what goes on. a lot of games that I play, I really don't feel any kind of connection to the characters in the game at all, because they're just pixels on a screen most of the time, or polygons on a screen. They're not, especially engaging, and that's not always a problem for me. I don't always play games because I want a cinematic experience. There are some games that I like a cinematic experience with, but I play games primarily for the gameplay, and this has fantastic gameplay as well. And yeah, it is well worth checking out. It's such a fantastic game, and I hope that there's more to come from it. I don't know whether they'll plan any sequels to it or not, but I, for one, would be really excited if they do make a sequel to this, because, as I say, it's well put together. It's a fantastic game, and there are characters in it that you do feel that you want them to survive, and it has an impactful story as well. So yeah, check this out. So now that's out of the way, I was also wanted to talk about the first year with the PS4 and gaming on it in the last, well, at the moment for me it's about 11 months because I got it on Christmas Day. But between now and Christmas Day I won't be playing any new games on it. I've got 1 or 2 games lined up that I'll be getting at Christmas, Alien Isolation and hopefully Far Cry 4. And also possibly Grand Theft Auto 5. They're probably going to be my next 3 purchases. I'm also hoping to be able to pick up The Evil Within as well. So I'm undecided a little bit at the moment. I do like survival horror, and from what I've seen of The Evil Within, I do like the look of that game. So maybe maybe Grand Theft Auto 5 might go on the back burner, because I do have that on the PlayStation 3. I don't know yet. I'm a bit undecided. Who knows? I may even be able to sneak that one in, possibly if I've got some other games to trade in. But anyway, going off the topic a little bit there. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this first year with the PS4. I think it's a fantastic games console, and for a lot of things that Sony potentially did wrong with the PS3, especially in terms of making it a difficult console to code for, especially initially. It was a fairly complex system to program for, and developers were struggling to make games run and look as good on that console as they were doing on, say, for example, the Xbox 360. Sony seemed to have got it right with the PS4, and I've just enjoyed it. I love gaming on the console. I love the controller. I think the console itself is a great looking console in its simplistic design. It's no frills. It sets out to be a games console, and that's what it delivers, and I'm happy for that. I'm enjoying that. It kind of reminds me of what PlayStation was about before Sony kind of went a bit crazy with the trying to do all of the multimedia stuff that they did with the PS3, and so much of it. When I got the original PS3, the 60 gig, it had like multiple card readers, SD card readers on it, and it's the kind of stuff I was never going to use. I was paying for technology that essentially was just a non-starter for me. There was no point having it in. There was never a time with that original PS3 that I had that I used a card reader. I mean, some people may have done. I didn't. I never used the other OS system. I know that Sony removed it and a lot of people were unhappy about it, but I never used it. I buy games consoles primarily to play games on them. If they do other things, that's great, but I view that as a bonus. I guess that the quest of having, what Microsoft were trying to do with Xbox One, for example, and, with the Xbox 360 perhaps to a slightly lesser degree, is to create an all-in-one gaming /entertainment solution, which is a great idea in concept, but trying to deliver something like that and keeping the price down is always going to present itself as a challenge. And I do think that it kind of put me off a little bit with Xbox One. I've owned an Xbox. I've had the original one and the Xbox 360. I think they're fantastic games consoles, and I don't doubt that the Xbox One is a very capable games console. But in the past, I would have owned a PS4, Xbox One, and a Wii U, because my finances allowed it, and they don't allow it anymore. So I had to be a bit more selective. I could only really afford one. I would have loved to have got the Wii U, but I like to play a lot of third-party games that aren't coming to the Wii U. I would have the Wii U for its first-party games. I think the first-party titles that Nintendo have are unsurpassed. I think there's no doubt about it. Of all of the consoles, in my opinion, they have the strongest lineup. So getting a Wii U would be, a consideration for me at some point in the future, to be able to play the Mario games, Mario Kart, the Zelda games, the Metroid, Star Fox, those type of games that you're not going to find on other formats. I would do that. And as I say, if I had the money, I would probably own an Xbox One as well. But I had to make a decision, and I chose the PS4 because it ticked the right boxes for me in terms of what I wanted. And that in no way means I dislike the Xbox One, but when you have to make one choice, whichever way you choose, you're going to lose out. So I had to go with what I felt would be the right option at the time, which was to go with the PS4, just simply because of the fact that I like the exclusive titles on the PlayStation. I miss Forza, I miss Halo, but there are games that I played an awful lot of those games. I've played all of the Halo games. I've played all of the Forza games. They're fantastic. I love them. But Sony just had them a slightly different... It's kind of difficult to explain, really, because, at the end of the day, I do like what's on Xbox One, but I also like what's on the PS4. And I just went down the path of two key decisions that were there at that time a year ago. Was that the PS4 seemed to be more focused as a games console. It didn't have stuff that I didn't want, like Kinect. I've got no time for Kinect at all. I tried to use it on the 360 and I've got no time for it. And it was cheaper. It was just a bit of a no-brainer for me. It was a cheaper console that seemed to be more focused on games rather than being a multimedia system. So it became a very simple choice, and I don't regret that decision at all. I absolutely love this console. I love the games that are on there. When I got the console, I got Killzone, Battlefield 4, FIFA 14, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and they were great. I had so much fun playing those games. I got the Call of Duty Ghosts. I had fun playing that. It wasn't the strongest Call of Duty game that I've ever played, but it was still fun nevertheless. And throughout the year, I've picked up other titles as well that I've had a lot of fun with and I've enjoyed. I mean, I think I obviously got The Last of Us. I got Rayman Legends, I think it's called. I had a lot of fun with that. I have a video of that up on this channel. I got Wolfenstein The New Order. Absolutely love that game. I actually completed that a couple of days ago and I'm playing through it now again, selecting a different character to save. There's a point in the game where you make a choice of who you save, And I'm actually playing through that game again, and also trying to pick up the secrets as well. I absolutely love it. I think it's a fantastic game. Stays very truthful to the Wolfenstein franchise. It stays very faithful to the games that went on before in terms of its gameplay. I love the fact that you have to pick up health packs, just simple things like that, rather than just hide behind a bit of cover for a couple of seconds to regain all of your energy. It makes you play the game a little bit more tactically. You have to think about what you're doing. You're losing energy, and you're not going to recover the energy once you get past a certain point. You've got to top up your health again, and the same with the armor. And it had a great selection of weapons in there, and it was great fun to play. It's an absolutely fantastic game. As I say here, you see I've got the Last of Us, and also got Watch Dogs, and that was a game that divided a lot of people. A lot of people didn't like it. They felt that it wasn't the game that was represented E3, and yeah, they're probably right about that, but I still had a lot of fun playing the game. I need to play more of it. I haven't played enough. The same with Infamous Second Son. I've played some of it, really enjoyed it, had a lot of fun with it, but I need to play more of it. And coming more up to date, I got Diablo 3. Absolutely loved that game. FIFA 15, and to me it improves on a few things from FIFA 14. I think graphically it's fantastic looking. I like the way that the pitch deteriorates while you're playing on it. Just little things like that really add to the game. And I got Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. I'll be putting a video up of me playing that and talking about that at some point in the future. And again, I mean, it was a better Call of Duty than Ghosts. It was a lot of fun. The jumping around thing kind of added a more vertical gameplay than the standard, almost sort of flat gameplay that you had before. It's definitely, made for a more vertical game, and seeing people flying through the air and getting shot in midair, there's a degree of fun to it. It's a bit more enjoyable to play. I don't think it's the multiplayer doesn't try to take itself as seriously as other Call of Duty games. I think that was the problem. It began to take itself too seriously, and the fun element suffered. As I've not really played an awful lot of the single player campaign. I've been playing I can't remember what mode it is. I think it's like a survival mode where you have to survive against more and more bad guys that keep coming in waves. It's like a horde mode, survival mode, and that can be a lot of fun. Even just playing it by yourself, it's like using one of the multiplayer options, but you can play it by yourself, and I like that in first-person shooters because I'm not big playing multiplayer online. But I do like to play against the computer in a multiplayer environment, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I mean, it's great fun and it's enjoyable. That's the important thing. If you're having fun with the game, that's really all that matters. And yeah, I mean, it's just been a fantastic experience. I was really worried about this generation. When this generation was still being in development, when there was still a lot of talk about what it would do, what it wouldn't do, there seemed to be an awful lot of negativity in the press. It seemed that they were generating an awful lot of bad things to say about these new consoles that were coming out, the threats of what they would do, what they wouldn't do. And I'm grateful that that's so far been, generally speaking, unfounded. I think gamers voiced their concerns and Microsoft listened. They've done a great job with the Xbox One. It's come on leaps and bounds. They've listened to what people want. They've dropped the Kinect. They've got some fantastic games out there. They've lowered the price. They've made it a far more attractive console. in the last 12 months. They've really, aggressively set about trying to make it a viable machine for people to buy. And that's good. These are good things, because the more competition there is, Sony need competition. Otherwise, they can sit back, they can start doing things that people don't like. I mean, they've done it before. Competition is a good thing. It keeps both sides, all parties concerned, focused, and that can only be a good thing. And I've really, I'm really happy that's the case, because it means that the Xbox One becomes a viable choice. If at some point in the future I have the money to buy one, I know that there's another console out there that's got a lot of great games that I can choose, that I can buy. I didn't jump on board with the original Xbox when that first came out, again, because at that particular time I financially couldn't afford it. And about a year or so, 18 months after it launched, I picked one up, and suddenly had access to all of these games that I'd wanted to play for such a long time. Games like Halo. And I really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic console, and it was a fantastic experience. And sometimes, waiting for something, having to, to save up and wait for something, wait to buy something, when you actually get it, you kind of appreciate it more. And also, when you can't just keep buying everything all the time, you tend to appreciate things more. I mean, one of the things that I've appreciated with having the PlayStation 4 this year as my only next-gen console has also been the fact that I've not been able to just keep affording to buy every game that comes out. And that's made me appreciate the games that I've got more. It's made me spend more time playing games and more time with them. One of the things that in the past generation, when I had quite a bit more money, I would buy game after game after game. Probably about possibly 4 or 5 games a month. It just depended on what was coming out. And there would be a pile of shame. There'd be games that I hadn't even taken the plastic wrapper off, that I'd had for months and months and months and never played them. And I don't think, and then, when I come to play them, I kind of wanted to just play them and get them out of the way. I just wanted to get through them as quickly as possible because I had this mountain of games to play. Actually having to be more cautious about what I buy and having to think more about it has meant that I've been able to play games and appreciate them more, have more, appreciate what the games have to offer. I think to me, it's been a good thing. It's helped me kind of appreciate gaming a lot more and get back into gaming a lot more how I used to be a number of years ago. And I'm kind of grateful for that in a way. I mean, sure, I'd like to have more games. There's a lot of games that have come out recently that I'd like to have, but I can at some point in the future. They're not going to go anywhere. I can always get them at some point in the future, and, maybe get them cheaper. And so again, at that point, when I get those games, I'll be able to appreciate what they are a lot more than just going out and buying them and buying them and buying them. But I mean, that's just speaking from my own personal point of view. I know a lot of people buy games. If you can afford to do it, it's great. But I'm, this is just my own personal feelings and my own personal opinion on my first year of owning the PS4 and just how I feel and the experience it's had and just how much I've enjoyed it. How much I've enjoyed just, sitting down and getting into these games and really appreciating them for what they are. I think that I was kind of worried that towards the end of the last console generation, I was kind of getting a bit burnt out. And I was worried that, maybe my appreciation for games, maybe my interest in games was just falling by the wayside. There was maybe it was just overloaded, oversaturated. I honestly don't know. I just felt kind of burnt out, possibly jaded, and indifferent to a lot of games. Nothing really was exciting me towards the end of the last generation. There was a handful of games that I liked, like for example this game and Grand Theft Auto 5, but by and large, I felt like I was winding down. That the fantastic games that and the excitement that I had for games in the past was sort of waning a little bit, and I was concerned by that, and I was worried that going into this generation nothing would have changed, but thankfully that's not been the case. It really has reinvigorated my passion for gaming. I'm much appreciate it now where I didn't before. Well, I did appreciate it. I was just, like I say, just burning out a little bit. And sometimes you think, well, should I take a break from gaming? So I'm glad that that wasn't the case. I mean, I honestly think part of it was just the constant negativity that was in the games media towards gaming. I think that didn't help. The fact that, every time I opened a website, every time I looked at an article, it just seemed to be somebody else was saying things, about how much they were fed up of it, how much, gaming was on the decline, and, what this company was going to do, what that company was going to do, just the overall attitude to gaming within the mainstream media didn't really seem to give out a lot of enthusiasm. I can't remember a lead up to the launch of a new generation of games consoles that there ever been so much negativity. Normally there's a lot of excitement, but there just seemed to be a huge amount of cynicism, and I got embroiled in that. I mean, at one point, I think I said on a video that I thought that the last gen could end up outliving the next gen if we weren't careful. Was based purely on the things that I'd read. That was based purely on, information that was presented at that particular time. And what else can you go off? You can only garner information that's put before you by those people. I mean, at that time, people within the gaming media that I trusted to put forward, fair and honest and decent articles, and what you see that happens later is that isn't always the case. There's a lot of journalists that do put forward fair articles, but there was others as well that were just simply trying to rile up the mob, trying to piss people off and get hits on their site and get the comment section set on fire because the more hits on the site, the more revenue. I don't know. Maybe that's a bit too much of a conspiracy theory attitude to have. But certainly that's how I felt. And I felt that, it was starting to have a negative impact on me, and I didn't like it. And sometimes it happens to you without realization. It happens to you without you fully understanding. You just think, well, if everybody's saying that this next gen's going to be not very good or whatever, then you start to believe it. It's not always about being easily led or whatever, But it was great that it didn't turn out that way. It's, it has its problems. People have their complaints, but overall, it's been far better. I didn't think, 18 months ago, I really honestly didn't think that I would be gaming this generation, but I am, and that's a good thing. Say I enjoy the PS4. I've been enjoying playing on it. I think that the Xbox One's got a lot of great stuff on it. The Wii U has got a lot of great games out there for it, and it's a great time because not only have you got that, but you've still got the last gen as well, and they've got a multitude of games for them. It's a really good time at the moment to be gaming. It's better than what you think. So anyway, I mean, I've rambled on far too long. It's going to be quite a long video, but those are just my thoughts about it. And yeah, thank you for watching, and stay tuned to my channel for more videos to come.